So here is the situation. The Argentine parents, as I explained in the last lesson, followed their daughter all the way to the United States. They took a plane just like their daughter did. And then later their son flew here. The son had a baby there in Texas, and their daughter had a child too, she and her husband. And then the daughter decided that she wanted to go back to Argentina. And she is the one the parents had followed to the United States. So these Argentine parents became grandparents. Their daughter had a child, and their son had a child. When their daughter decided she wanted to go back, the grandparents were now faced with a very difficult decision. And as I sat at the table and talked to the grandmother about it, these were people who were about 52 years old. As I sat there and talked to her about this, you could tell it was an extremely difficult situation for her, and there was no answer. And let me tell you something, as we continue in the lesson, there is no answer for these things. So, when people take the risks to come to another country, in many, many cases, there just is no solution for the problems that come up. Instead, they just have to make decisions and then make the most of it after that. There is not a solution for everything. Sometimes life is just really complicated and you just have to move forward. The daughter would not be able to come back if she were to obtain permission. She would not be able to come back to the U.S. for 10 years. What does it mean for the parents of the daughter who decided to go back? Now, that particular part of the family was back in Argentina. The mother was facing another complication. She had a brother who had moved here long ago, years before her. And this brother was an older brother that she had looked up to very much because her own father was not the most responsible guy, but her brother had taken up the slack when she was much younger. He had been a great brother, kind of like a dad in the sense that he took up responsibilities that a really good big brother would take up. This guy took care of his sister or sisters, and I think they had another couple of brothers. She really admired her older brother for doing this. She loved him dearly. And she missed him. You know why she missed him? Because so many years before that, he had come here. And she had never heard from him again. And she didn't understand why. Why would this guy disappear? Why couldn't he just write home every once in a while to the people that were crazy about him? We talked about that, and I knew a detective who helped try to track down this brother. We found that he had been living in a number of states in the U.S., and most recently in North Carolina, where many, many people from Latin America have moved. What we found was that her brother could not be located. It seemed that we could almost find him and help this woman with this particular heartache. But it didn't happen. Couldn't find her brother. And obviously, he didn't want to be found. No, he wasn't dead. What was he doing? Probably living in ways that he didn't want anybody to know about. Maybe running from the law. Maybe a combination of those things. Well, we gave the woman the news. We let her know that her brother was nowhere to be found at this time. And no reason to expect that he ever would be, to tell you the truth. Having lost her brother and her daughter and granddaughter, or grandson, I can't remember what her daughter's baby was, this woman decided she was heading back to her home country also. So she and her husband packed up and went all the way down from here to here. And now what does that mean? One thing it means is that she would not be able to return to the U.S. for 10 years. They were now so far apart. 10 years. Can you imagine? And her son? He couldn't leave the country because he overstayed his visa, and so he was also illegal. That means that he wouldn't be able to come back to his girlfriend and daughter for 10 years. He wouldn't be able to be with his girlfriend and his baby. And what if he wanted to marry his girlfriend, which hopefully he would want to? So he didn't leave. He couldn't leave if he wanted to keep everything going there in Texas. And so the family, you see, was split up. A son who didn't dare leave the country to go back to his home country. He didn't dare leave his daughter behind or a good job. A mother and a father down in Argentina who couldn't come back here to see their son, and he couldn't go down there. Coming back to America was out of the question for at least 10 years. By the time they saw their granddaughter again, she'd be going on 11. Their son, he'd be much older. They can see their daughter and her baby and her husband, and then remember her brother, who knows where he is. He doesn't want to be found. It's a tremendous amount of heartache. It's happening in families all over this country. You can bet it is happening in your community. This story can be told over and over and over in a lot of different ways. It's just amazing how many families go through this. Does this mean that we should feel sorry for them and let them all in? We'll be talking about some similar issues in the future because really these are things that I don't hear my friends and others talking about. They don't really know that much about them. And a lot of the reason is because they can't talk to the people in their language. Although these other people are learning English, they speak most spontaneously and naturally. They open up most in their first language, which is Espanol, which is a great reason for you to learn it. So you can walk right into the hearts of so many people, not to hear spooky stories or heartaches, but just to be able to really get to know them as fellow humans in this universe.